Welcome back. So this is where we left the middle joint of the flute with 6 tone holes nicely bored along the x-axis at specified distances, each with its own diameter. Now, the purpose of this session, and it's why I call it session 11A, is that we're going to do the same as we did in session 11, but just in a different way. And the reason for doing this is that sometimes you're not absolutely certain about what your final parameters are going to be. So we might decide to move these holes up or down, or we might decide to make them narrower or wider in diameter. So we want to build a degree of flexibility into the model for making life easier later on. So we're going to get rid of our lovely tone holes, and to do that, make sure we have the full design selected, and we step back in history 2 steps. You can see no longer have we got the tone holes visible, but they're still in the design. Let's kick them out of the design by right-clicking on one of the faded icons and say delete all features after history marker. Now I'm going to do something here. I'm just going to go to middle joint timber instead and make that one active. Now, if I right click here, I don't get that delete capability. To get the delete capability, I have to look at the full history. This is only the history of the middle joint timber. Go back up here and activate the middle joint. And here now I will get the delete all features after history marker. That can drive the newcomer to Fusion 360 mad trying to get to that. Okay, so delete all features. They're gone. Now, let's do it the new way. We will modify, change parameters. And you can see that I have put in a range of parameters. That's an example. I just delete that. If you want to get rid of any of these, you just hit the little X that appears as you cursor over them. These are user parameters, and they accompany in a group the model parameters. Fusion creates these. You create these. So when I'm working on a project, I typically try and come up with some simple name with a number. So D1 is the diameter for hole number 1. X1 is the position along the x-axis for hole number 1. You might have a different approach to it. You could call the A hole the A. You could call the C sharp hole C sharp. Whatever you like. This is a straightforward way of being easily able to remember. So I put in 6 diameters as per the sketch, and I put in 6 X locations as per the sketch, and I just hit OK. Now, how do you put them in? You just click on that chat there, and you put in any old name, pick your units, and you have a great selection of units. Different kinds of lengths, angles, so the engineers among you will love the range of unit types that's available. So we want lengths and we want millimeters. Now enter expression. You can type in a number, or you can type in a formula. Now, if it's red, it doesn't like it. If it thinks it can calculate it, it'll turn black and it'll give you the value. So the value changes with the expression. And you can build very complex formulae in there. Now, today you just need to put in whatever parameter, whatever number you actually think you need. And you can put in a comment there as well. Okay, so any old name. Thing is, once you've created, the editing capability is not great. So I'll try and get in here. You see, it just lets me type in. That's all the typing space it gives me. Okay, so I don't want it. We'll get rid of it. It's gone. So now we've set up 12 parameters, 6 for the diameters, 6 for the X locations. Now we want to do the sketch for the tone holes, but we want to activate middle joint timber because I want the sketch to appear down here, not to appear up here. Okay, so I think it's the XY axis, yeah. And we will build the 6 holes. Type T to get the circle tool. Make sure you're on the X axis. Now it's asking us for the diameter. D. Type in D and it finds 6 user parameters with D, starting with D. The D in the dialog box or in the data entry field is red. Haven't found anything D, found too many Ds. Type in D1 and it turns black. Yep, it's found a D1. It's this one. Is that the one you want? Enter. Yes, that's the one I want. Now apply that one. Enter. And you can see that the hole has taken up the value 8 and it is an FX value. That FX before the number tells you that that's a calculated value. Now I'm going to set the distance. I'm going to set that as X. Yeah, I've found 6 X's. Give me one, number 1. That's the one I want. Use it. So now it's now it's accurately in place. C for the next one. And D2. I'm going to just make all the circles now. Okay, so now we'll go to the dimension, hit the letter D. And that should be X6. X5. X4. So the holes are now positioned, and you can see on the dimension lines that every number is preceded by FX, telling you it's a calculated value. So we'll finish the sketch, take it home, and now we will select each of the holes. And we will do a operation cut. And the extent type all. And up it comes. We say, okay. So there's the holes all back in the right positions at the right diameter. Now, I'm going to go back to modify. I'm going to change the parameters, and I'm going to put in a value that is you'd never have on the flute because you wouldn't have a finger big enough to cover it. I'm going to put in 20 millimeters on hole D4. Now I can hit OK, or I can just move to the next field. And you can see that the model automatically updates. If you have a 2-screen setup, you can move the parameter list onto the other screen, and I'm going to change the next one to 15. I hit go to the next field. You can see the 15. If I changed X1 to 10, you can see the first hole moved up as well. Hit OK. Now I'll just hit Control Z, Control Z, Control Y. Okay, I have to, well, that's the right size, isn't it? Well, let me just check the change parameters. 8, 9.5, yep, 10.5. Yeah, looking good. Sorry, I was working the parameters on a different screen there. So that brings us back to where we were. So play around now with the parameters you've created. Bring it back on screen. Change them around and see the effect they actually have on the flute itself. Okay, we're going to leave it there for this session, and we'll finish off the middle joint now with its cork and its reinforcement rings in session number 12. See you there.